with another episode of To the Moon, and on this one we've got one of my favorite people. You guys don't get tired of hearing me say that because everyone that's on the show is one of my favorite people. It's a true story, but I specifically remember meeting Dwight Ruffin here for the first time on a coaching call in the AstroFlipping community, and immediately this guy, I sensed something different. There was a level of commitment there was a fire that I could sense in his eyes. There was a hunger and a no excuse policy that I felt was how he operated. And I really, really respected it. And I remember right out the gate saying, you are going to crush it in this business. And although I think that put a lot of pressure on him for me to say that in front of hundreds of people on the call, he rose to the occasion. So I'd love to introduce to everybody that's watching this episode, and you're definitely going to want to stay tuned to the end of this because you're going to figure out or learn how you can work with Dwight personally, and he can help you if you haven't yet gotten your first deal, and maybe do many more after that. So without further ado, Dwight Ruffin, welcome to the moon. How you doing, baby?
Thank you, Jamil. I am awesome. I'm awesome. Very blessed. Thank you.
You are blessed, man. I've seen it. You're blessed with a really, really good mindset. You're blessed with really intelligent perspectives. You're blessed with tenacity and consistency. And to me, those are the real things that we want to be blessed with. I think a lot of us feel like, oh, you're blessed when you got the mansion. You're blessed when you got the Rolex and the Benz. But no. If God gave you the mind and the spirit and the capacity to crush it in life, you're blessed, and you definitely have it. So walk us through, right? How did you find Astro? How did you get into real estate wholesaling? What were you doing before? Start with just who you are personally, because I want to know a little bit more about you. I only know you from our real estate conversations, and we don't get a lot of time for me to ask you those kinds of questions on that call. But walk us through who Dwight Ruffin is.
Well, I'm a lifelong salesperson, entrepreneur. I started my first business at 7 years old. Selling candy in a neighborhood that I lived in Atlanta at that time. I'm originally from Long Island, New York. I've just been always a salesperson. I got my first sales job at 14. Then I started into selling coupon booklets, selling perfumes, telemarketing. I eventually became a loan officer for a mortgage company. Then I got into, I was a service advisor for a car dealership. And that was my most recent position before going full-time into real estate.
Wow. I sense a lot of parallels in your story because I consider myself a lifelong salesperson as well. I mean, when I was a young kid, I would always be trying to connect the dots and make money and do something, and some of the things I did when I was younger weren't the best to waste money, but it showed me that there was something inside of me that understood how to connect the dots, how to bring something of value to somebody, and then for that exchange, receive money. And so how old were you when you when you first realized that, oh, I like this, I like creating the sale?
Very young, actually. Like, I think 7 years old is my first memory of it. So, well, me and my mom at the time, we moved to Atlanta. We were living in the projects. And there was this lady called the Candy Lady who would sell candy to all the children in the projects at the time. And this is 1986 in Atlanta, so it was very rural. It's not like Atlanta like we know it now.
Right.
And the closest store of any kind was a Texaco gas station like a mile down the road. So, all the kids would go to the Candy Lady. But she would close at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So what I did,
love that she had operating hours. It's like after 3 o'clock, you get your cavity somewhere else.
But that was a strain for kids. We have all day to play. Well, we're in the projects all day with each other playing. So after 3 o'clock, there's nothing we can do. So what I started doing was I saved up about 50 cents and I would buy candy from the Candy Lady. And then after she closed, I would sell the candy for twice the price. And that's how I started.
And so she was your wholesaler and you were the distributor. and so that turned into something, but it was cool because it showed you network. It showed you looking at opportunity, right? And you said, okay, the opportunity for me is after 3 p.m. because she's got the monopoly on it until then. So I'm going to come and I already know where to get my supply. because she's got it over here. And, let me ask, did you ever work a discount out with her in the future for like bulk purchase?
I never worked out a discount with her, but it's a funny story that my mom will tell because my mom wanted to get a free lollipop from me and I wouldn't give it to her. I needed a 25 cents for it because it was costing me 15 cents. So she tells this story about how even at 7 years old, I wouldn't give my mom a free lollipop.
My gosh. I love it, dude. I love it. It's it really does shine through in who you are today. People say, how do I find, my purpose? How do I find my niche? Where do I find what turns me on or lights my soul on fire? And I ask typically that they go back to their childhood and think of the things that they naturally did. Like what did you do when you were a kid naturally? Were you a dancer? Did you like to talk? Did you, like to create things, draw, do art? What was really lighting you up as a child? And for you, it was making sales, selling lollipops. And
It was
that's
that.
awesome.
Then I went into, I was a basketball player. I did music. I was a rap artist for a long time performing. I started performing.
What was your rap name?
Butter.
Butter?
Yeah.
That's dope. I like Butter. I like that. So Butter, getting after that whole time and getting into entrepreneurship, the mortgage business, which obviously sparked your interest in housing, and
Yes.
car sales is also very, very, very lucrative, but can be a drain and a drag on the system. And I know the car industry. I've never worked in it myself, but I've known folks who have. And some of the guys that work in that business can be a little hard on their bodies, and so it's just, I can imagine that it's it weighs on you. So you're probably trying to remove yourself out of that type of a grind, and you find real estate. So walk me through that. What gets you motivated in learning wholesale? Because it's such a really relatively unknown niche. As popular as we've been making it in the last few years, it's still underground, right? Like your average Joe has no idea what this concept of selling equitable interest in properties that have potential actually is, right? So how did you find wholesaling?
So let me back up. So in 2020, I got laid off when the pandemic hit from the dealership that I was working at. And that really re-sparked my entrepreneurial spirit. And I used my unemployment money to start an affiliate marketing business. I learned a lot of skills there. I made some money, but it wasn't anything lucrative, a couple of hundred here if I did really well. So fast forward to me back in the car dealership, and the car dealership is, like you said, it's a very grueling business. You work a lot of hours, and I made good money, but it's a thankless job. It's very stressful. And the people who run these companies, they don't care about you. They can replace you.
And even the guy you're selling to doesn't necessarily like you either.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
it's like they feel like it's just this. Buying a car, to be honest, man, it's probably one of the most, like, I don't even do it anymore. I won't go to a dealership any longer. I got a broker now, and because I just, like, you deal with it, you handle it, you give me the best price, and leave me alone.
Well, I worked in service, so I stayed out of the sales department for that reason, because you can't be an ethical car salesman, because you can't.
Yeah,
unless
it's all trickery. Yeah, it's trickery.
Yeah.
Right.
So I stayed in the service department, but it was just really, really grueling. So I got tired of, working so many hours and, just not having a life. So I wanted to get back into something that was more lucrative. And I remember when I was a loan officer, I was making good money as a loan officer. So I wanted to get back into real estate somehow. So I initially started looking into tax liens and tax deeds. That led me into this guy called Ty the Flip Man, and I started learning about wholesaling, direct to seller. And I learned that process, and that was kind of getting me going. And then around the same time that I was learning from him at the job that I was working at the dealership, they just out of nowhere decided to cut my pay by 30%.
Wow.
So I prayed, and I was reading this book at the time called The Law of Success by Napoleon Hill. I was reading it for the second time, and I just so happened to be on the chapter about burning bridges and taking a leap of faith. So, you know, when all this is happening, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, and I felt like God really wanted me to dive full time into my wholesale business. So I still hadn't done my first wholesale deal yet, but when they gave me the opportunity to take the pay cut or leave, I chose to leave. And then about a week later is when I found AstroFlipping, and I was looking into it, and I saw you, and I kept seeing like your ads, and I was like, really looking into it, and I'm really big on researching something before I jump into it, and I just couldn't find any downside to being a part of AstroFlipping. The more I looked into it, the more it seemed legit. No matter what source I looked into, there was only good things to say about it. So I got on the phone call with one of the reps. And at first I was still a little hesitant, you know, because it was a big commitment, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, this was like, at this time, like I said, I didn't have any other income. I wanted to make sure the decision that I made was something that I'm going to go full-fledged into, and it was the right thing for me. I originally did make the decision, and I swear, Jamil, within about an hour, I knew it was the right decision for me. It was just like everything started falling into place. And it just spiraled from there. You know, I went through the training. The first week of training was so amazing. And like I said, I read books on self-help. I'm a big self-help book. I'm reading The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale right now.
Beautiful book.
But it was key to me to not skip any of the process. So as much as I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes of learning and the things that I knew would directly help me gain income, I also knew that it was important to go into the mindset part and take advantage of that part. And man, I'm so glad I did, because I learned so much. And then it also confirmed that I was on the right track of the way that I was thinking. And so like, there was just more confirmation that I was in the right place. I was surrounded by the right people, and just everything. I mean, I'm always thanking you on the calls, because literally, like, it has changed my life, Jamil. So I can't thank you enough, man.
Dude, I gotta say, man, it as a human being that dedicates time and energy and my life to this, I don't have a lot of things in my world that excite me anymore. Like, material things don't excite me. You know, I can't buy a new car and feel something. I can't buy a new home and feel something. I don't take a new trip, and it depends on if my wife's there, but I don't take trips and feel something, right? But this right here, like, I feel it because I know that, you know, your whole life and your kids and what's going to happen in the trajectory of your not only your destiny, but the destiny of the people who are going to come into contact with you because of who you're becoming now. And the ripples of that are so powerful, and and they're infinite in so many ways to think, you know, like how many different people the butterfly effect of your success will help. And so thank you for saying that, and thank you for making my day. But, you know, again, at the end of the day, it's a collaboration, right? I can do my job, but if you don't do your job, it's not going to work. Right. But you did your job well. And so I want to dive into that deal, because, you know, I loved how quickly you came in and you got to work. Look, some people will come in and they'll, like you, hit the ground running and get success pretty fast. Some people will come in and they'll hit the ground running, but they'll take a lot of time learning, and it'll take them a little bit more effort to get themselves out of that comfort zone and into action. And then some people just come in and never start. Right. And that's also a reality. And, you know, unfortunate. I do my best, and our team does our best, that if we see someone sleeping at the wheel, we try to wake them. You know, we're honking the horn, we're tapping on the shoulder, we're giving them calls, we're sending them emails, we're sending them text messages, trying to wake them up. Right. But you were already awake. And so what happened in that first deal? How did you find it? How did you put it all together? And then what was the ultimate result?
So the first deal that I actually got under contract was still waiting to close. The first deal that actually closed was the second deal we got under contract. So when I first got into the program, I immediately started connecting with everyone in the community. I saw that there was a lot of value in the training, but I just saw that the greater value was in connecting with not only you, but the people in the community that were actively doing business, making deals, and making money. And I just started asking everyone, what's the fastest way to get a deal? What's the fastest way to get a deal? Everyone I came across, I asked, what's the fastest way to get a deal? And they all said, get a deal from someone that has a deal under contract and find a buyer for it, or find a wholesaler who has a buyer. I said, okay. So I went to finding someone who had a deal under contract and just started networking in all the Facebook groups. That's where my affiliate marketing background came in, because I was familiar with networking in Facebook groups and knowing how to navigate through those groups. And by the grace of God, that's why I say everything I give all my grace and the faith to God, because I know I do a lot of the same actions that a lot of other people do, but I was reaping results because of just grace and favor. I was blessed to meet a guy who was wholesaling virtually, who lives in Italy, who was wholesaling virtually in Florida, who had a deal under contract in Florida and had never done a wholesale deal before, but needed someone to help him navigate his way through the deal. And also somebody actually in the state that can, get it to title, had the experience or knew about working with title companies and things like that. And so I was able to help him with that one. That's actually the first deal that we got together that should be hopefully closing next week. But he had another deal he got another deal under contract shortly after that we started working together. I helped him get a buy price for it. He got it under contract. I went out and saw the seller, took the pictures, got it everything, and put it into my email marketing system that I use, and sent it out to all of the few buyers that I had at that time, which wasn't very many, but I did know I had some good buyers through the outreach. And then I think it only took about maybe the second day, somebody, one of the buyers contacted me with an offer that was like really close to our asking price. And we didn't mark it up much, but we were like, hey man, just to get a deal done, we were able to negotiate a little bit where we can make a little bit on it and still get the deal. And that's the one we just closed. And that one, oh my goodness, that's the one I was telling you about on the call.
It closed finally?
Yeah. It closed.
Oh, congratulations, dude. I'm so happy for you. Guys, you have no idea. This deal. So wait, Cliff Notes version, because we're gonna go over time. But you get the deal under contract. You're dealing with a seller who is like, we're not sure if he's alive in the hospital, passed away, or a liar. What did he end up being?
So, quick version story. The seller, we get everything set up. It's getting ready to go to closing. The title company didn't order the updated payoff in time. The buyer's ready to back out. I rushed and saved everything, get the buyer to sign. The seller goes to closing, doesn't have the correct ID, says he's coming back the next day. Goes back the next, doesn't show up the next day. We can't get him on the phone. He ends up telling me that he's in the hospital. A week goes by, no contact with him. Finally get in contact with him. He shows up and then goes to closing and closes. I'm not sure if he was a liar or a combination of the two. Once he resurfaced, I was just happy that he was ready to go.
Who cares at that point? Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. I literally, once I got a text from him, literally that next morning after we were on that call, I got a text from him that morning. It was a couple of days later. I got a text from him in that morning. I said, yes, we can close in 2 hours. I just said, whatever time it was. I said, well, yeah, just go to the title company at 10 o'clock and then they'll be there. Title company wasn't open yet, but I just said, you just go. And then he said 11 o'clock. I said, okay, yes, 11 o'clock. So when the title company opened up,
he's not even checking. He's just like, you just go there.
No, I just said go. So when the title company opened up, I said, hey, the seller will be there at 11 o'clock. Please have closing documents ready. And they even back. Thankfully, we can get it done in time, and then he went. And then there was even a little bit of hesitation, not after that, but we'll get an issue with funding because through this time that we were waiting to get in touch with him, that new payoff that we finally got wasn't updated. So they didn't want to fund that. Now they closed. The buyer's lender sends the wire, and then they didn't want to release the funds without an updated payoff. 2 days goes by. The lender threatens to have them resend the wire, take the money back, and they finally got the owner to agree to disperse the funds.
My gosh, dude, and look, this is not for the faint of heart, guys. Can you imagine the roller coaster of emotions that Dwight was on,
Oh
just
my
trying to get this
goodness.
done? And look, one
Yeah,
of
I
the
was
things
thinking
I
this was
have,
an easy
you
deal.
you really handled it with a lot of grace, though, because I remember you came to the call, you were stressed out, like you were going through it, but there was this, like, I call it dog on a bone energy, right? When you've got an opportunity in front of you and you know that you got to do what you've got to do to make it work, to get it to close. Most people would have stopped at the first obstacle where the payoff hadn't been received in time, and it was going to fall apart there, where the buyer was going to back out, the payoff wasn't updated. They would have said, lenders never give you an updated payoff immediately. I've never seen that, by the way. So you getting that accomplished is something that now I can say, you know what? I've actually heard of lenders being able to provide an updated payoff on the spot, which is what you had happen, right? And so, there you check the box. Then seller comes to the table, wrong ID, ghosts the next day. That's where somebody else would have given up, right? They would have been like, this is just too much. Then to continuously find him, and you know what we had said to him the day before, find the hospital. So Dwight starts calling every hospital in the area to see if he can get a hold of the guy. Eventually the guy surfaces. Dwight tries to send flowers, but the flowers
Oh
get
yeah.
returned saying that this guy doesn't even stay at this hospital or in this room. So now he's like, this guy is not real, this guy is lying to me, this hospital stay isn't true. That's where another one would have stopped, but you kept going. You kept going. You kept going. And then finally you get to this. And then at the end, it's like the lender doesn't want to disperse. It's just like you learned a whole lifetime's worth of experiences in one tumultuous wholesale deal. So at the end of the day, what did you make on it?
On that one, I made $5,000.
That's the hardest $5,000 that I've ever heard somebody make. But I'll tell you what. There's somebody watching this right now who says, "I'll do it." Man,
I've actually worked harder for way less. So
yeah. So, but someone's watching this right now saying, "I'd go through that for 5,000." Because look, when $5,000 isn't in your bank, when you don't have $5,000, I mean, you'll do what you got to do for $5,000. And when you get to a point where you got $5,000 and you want to make 10, you're gonna do what you got to do. And it gets to a point where it's not even about the money. It's about the fact that I've got to complete what I start. And that's the thing, right? It's like, forget the cash involved here. I don't care if this money gets made. I don't care what happens. I'm on this deal. I'm in this deal, and I'm not going to let this deal die. I'm going to keep it going, and push it through, resuscitate it, give it CPR, all the things, hit it with some Narcan because it overdosed, whatever it is. Like, I got to do the job to keep this deal alive. And you did it, man. It was a really, really, really powerful lesson, not only for the community who got to hear your resolve and your stick-to-itiveness to get it done, but for you, because it showed you that you show up. It confirmed to you that you're worthy of a great life and a great lifestyle, because when the going gets hard, Dwight comes and shows up. He rides, and that to me is the essence of what we're trying to create in the community of AstroFlipping. And I'm so happy that I've not only gotten to know you, but that I can call you friend, and that I can actually say that, you deserve this. And beyond that, you deserve the next one. So the next one's waiting to close. What's that one going to give you?
That one will be $10,000.
10 grand. So I just want to highlight, guys, that first month in, Dwight's got $15,000 in the pipe. 5 of it's already closed. 10 of it's about to close. When's the close date on that?
That one, we're just waiting on one document from the seller. He got a stipulation on the bankruptcy to clear up, but the bankruptcy attorney's already working on it. We should hopefully have that by Monday. So I would say Friday at the latest, we should be closing that one.
Have you had a career ever that gave you $15,000 in a month before?
No.
Okay. Well, my friend, you've done it. You've done it. You're on the moon, man. What would you say to somebody who's watching this right now that's struggling, maybe in a dark place, maybe they're stuck, paralyzed through overconsumption of information, maybe they're in this pit of lacking self-worth or self-belief, and they don't feel like they've got the energy to push through, what would you say to that person to snap them out of it?
The first thing that I would say is get in touch with your higher power. For me, that's my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. For you,
Amen.
it could be whoever it is for
Yes,
you.
sir.
But for me, I would not be on this podcast with you. I would not have these stories to tell. I would not have any of the things that people say inspire them without the faith that I had to keep me going. Because in those rough moments, and it was rough, but I found a way to just thank him for the time that the lessons that I was learning through the process. And just for just giving me the strength to keep going and not give up. And there's a song that I listen to every morning called "Optimistic" by Sounds of Blackness, and it says, "As you can win as long as you keep your head to the sky." And there's like these words, the powerful words that just say, "Don't ever give up." And when reality seems like it's not going to happen, just keep your mind on your goals. And so I would just say, get in touch with your higher power. And then once you have your faith in your higher power that's going to back you when the times get rough and reality seems like it's not going to happen, you have something to lean back on. But then you have to put in the work and take the massive action and give your higher power something too blessed to work with. And then with those two things, I think there's nothing that can't happen.
My man, dude, I love you, Dwight. You really are a special human being, man, and I'm excited to watch what you accomplish in your journey with us. How do people get a hold of you and do business with you, bro?
The easiest way is through Facebook. Facebook, Dwight Ruffin. You can email me, druffin, DRUFFIN @goodenergyllc.net. That's the name of my company.
What
Good
a
Energy
cool
LLC.
Of course it's Good Energy LLC, man. What the heck, dude?
But yeah, Facebook, email, or you can also call me or text me at 561-783-5955.
My man. Dwight, welcome to the moon, brother. We love
Thank
you.
you.
You killed it. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you, Jamil. Appreciate you so much. I can't thank you enough.